Other items on your wish list for Santa this Christmas season for Tennessee athletics, and has Tennessee dominated the offseason so far?
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody, and Merry Christmas. Welcome into a special edition here of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here and making us your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning, especially this morning. And if you're listening to us or watching us this morning on Christmas, turn it off. This is probably the only time I'll ever say this. Turn it off, go spend time with your family, and then come back tomorrow morning and watch us, or come back later in the day and watch us. But regardless, hope you guys are enjoying time with your friends and family and enjoying everything that this day is, remembering the real reason for the season, all that stuff. Wanted to obviously have something out here for you here today because I know there's a lot of downtime during the holidays, a lot of time in the car. And so here we are with a little Christmas Day edition of Locked On Vols. Couldn't do it without you every day. Or so thankful for you guys. A lot to come in store today on the show. Boogie Bentley is going to join me here in just a second. Portal wish list, offseason to date. I feel like Tennessee's really done a good job in the offseason so far with some of the fires and hires and some of the moves Tennessee's been making, at least behind the scenes, it feels like. Plus, what Boogie's got on his Christmas wish list this year for Santa. It's going to be a fun show here on this Christmas Day edition of Locked On Vols. And with that being said, we'll welcome on our friend Boogie Bentley from the Talkin' Vols Network. Boogie, we did Sports Santa on yesterday's show, and we had a lot of listeners and a lot of members of the show that would send in like, "Hey, I want this for Christmas. I want Tennessee to do this for Christmas," and all that. If I were to ask you what you wanted for Christmas, Tennessee athletics related, what would that be?
Man, I'm torn on this thing because obviously we're heading into transfer portal season, transfer portal chaos. The portal's not even open until January, but man, the names have been lining up day after day. You go to social media and all you see is graphics with guys that are announcing their intentions to enter the portal. And I'm torn because I think we do have to attack the portal. And I've said all along since Jim Knowles took the job as the defensive coordinator, I'm like, we have to go attack guys on defense that fit his scheme. We have way more needs on the defensive side of the ball, but if I get to sit on the big man's lap and I say, Santa, what I want is I want a championship caliber quarterback. We need a quarterback. I look at the offense and I see the weapons returning on offense. Guys like Mike Matthews, Braylon Staley, some of the young wide receivers. I think Radarius Jackson has the opportunity to be a big-time playmaker this year. Travis Smith, no, he was banged up a little bit this year. You look at those freshman wide receivers coming in. You look at Ethan Davis. I thought we really saw the last couple of games who we thought Ethan Davis was going to be, a pass catcher, a playmaker. I thought they got creative the way they got him the ball. We'll see how the offensive line shakes out. You're returning at least 4 out of 5, maybe 5 out of 5. What happens with Lance Hurd? Again, we're pre-recording this, so a lot could change between the time we sit here and have this conversation and Christmas rolls around. What does that offensive look like? Bottom line, I think you're returning a lot of that offensive line, a lot of weapons. Who's going to dish them the football? I think the quarterback position is huge. Maybe Joey Aguilar's coming back. I don't know. I need a quarterback, and I think this offense could be one of the best in the country next year. Now, that said, maybe I'll whisper in the big man's ear, we need a little help on defense too.
Yeah, and I agree with you, man. I mean, when you look at how this team is situated on the offense coming back, it's almost kind of like, well, there was actually a pretty good question in the Mailbag podcast, or maybe it's Monday Night Chat last week. But someone asked, like, are you more inclined to start a GMAC or a Faizon because you know all the help that's going to be around him? Or, I mean, that's a really good point. My counter to that would be like, well, go get you a guy. Go get you a guy and add on to all this and go all in and
Yes.
like go try to win a championship, right? Like, there's different, like there's the Kerry Collins approach with the Tennessee Titans that one year. There's we've seen a lot of game manager type guys, and Faizon's going to be an unbelievable talent, but if he was a starter as a true freshman, we'd be lucky if he was a game manager, right? I mean, GMAC would be a game manager in year one, so it is pretty interesting. Josh Heupel spoke on the quarterback conversations, what it's like, those conversations with the young guys on his roster, and kind of what he's looking for in terms of the portal season. This was last week, the last time we met with him ahead of Christmas Day.
Yeah, I think you have to be honest in today's landscape, and I think that's so that your players trust you on a consistent basis, and ultimately information's readily available to everybody too. So I think being transparent, open in those lines of communication really important, and that's not just transfer portal season. It's legitimately at every phase of what you're doing.
For a guy that, I'm just going to say it, it's Christmas Day. I don't mean to use bad language. He sucks at the podium. He does. I thought he was really good the other day. I did. Maybe it's because you're kind of out of that day-to-day season grind, or maybe it's because he was back with his team on the practice field for the first time in 2 weeks. I mean, I thought he did really, really well answering some of those questions last week, but couldn't agree more. I think that would be on my wish list as well. Got to go get a quarterback. But the question, and again, I've done many shows about this, Boogie, and we're going to continue to do shows like after the Music City Bowl when the portal opens up. We know officially what direction Tennessee is going to go in. But kind of where are you on this, man? Like, I think it's irresponsible to go out and spend $5 million on a quarterback for 1 year. I think it's irresponsible. I would not do it. Can you get a guy that you really, really like for $2 to $3 million? I think that's worth it. Is that too much in your opinion? I mean, you're not going to get Joey Aguilar again for $1 million, even if he's eligible, right? Like,
right.
But you didn't know Joey was going to be this. Sure, he turned the football over, but he was really good. You talk about getting him at a bargain this year. You're going to have to pay. How much is too much? Because I think that's very much a part of the conversation. If you are striking out with guys that are asking for $5 million, go spend that $5 million on, like you said, safeties, corners, D-line, linebacker, running back, maybe a wide receiver. I mean, there's a lot that Tennessee needs.
Yeah, I think the problem about this conversation, we had a live stream on Wednesday night on my channel, and we talked for 45 minutes just about the quarterback. Is it worth it? Do you have to go get a guy in the portal? Do we not develop guys out of high school anymore? Why are we paying George MacIntyre to sit on the bench? Why are you paying Faizon Brandon to sit on the bench? And you ask, do you spend $4 million? Sorsby's not even in the portal. And there's articles out there about him getting offered $4 million from 4 different teams. What's he getting offered now that he is in the portal? $4 million? That's easy for me to sit here and spend somebody else's money. Josh Heupel's the CEO. Josh Heupel's the manager. Josh Heupel knows what the budget is. So it's hard for you and I to sit here and have this conversation and say, well, can you spend $4 million on a guy like Sorsby, or do you have to spend what's the price tag for Joey Aguilar if he comes back? Is it 2? Is it 2.5? Where you at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the guy that's an expert on those conversations clearly, but I would feel strong in my opinion of it being 2 to 2.3, somewhere around there. Like it'd be a little over 2.
So look at the difference between, let's say 2 for Joey Aguilar, and let's say 4 for Sorsby. How many safeties can I get for $2 million? Yeah. Can I get 2 really good safeties? But it's hard to have the conversation when we don't know what the budget is. It's easy for me to go to the comment section of YouTube and do this, or go to Twitter and do this and say, go get Sorsby, drop the bag. And then when he's in the boat, I immediately forget about him, and then I start going over to the defense, and I start saying, hey, man, let's go drop the bag on Chaz Coleman because he's a dude. He is a dude. Let's go drop the bag on him. But you know what I mean? It's hard to have that conversation. What's more important? If I have to sacrifice a couple of safeties for an elite quarterback compared to maybe a kid from North Texas that's an opportunity, maybe you go that route. I feel like this is why I talk in circles, because I don't know where I am at. I'm curious to see what the comment section looks like. But where do you go? How do you make this decision? How do you decide? My biggest fear is you're wasting the weapons. When you said you could get a game manager, are you wasting an opportunity with Braylon Staley, Mike Matthews, and all those weapons on offense if you don't go get an elite guy? You get an elite quarterback, everybody in the country is going to be talking about how this Tennessee offense has the opportunity to be the best, the number one offense across the board.
I think it's a really interesting conversation. And again, I know what direction I would go in. That doesn't mean it's the right move. I mean, I would go try to find a starter in the transfer portal, right? To where it makes sense. Again, if you can't get one for $4 million, like if $4 million is what you're going to have to pay to get one, don't get one, okay? But like make it reasonable. If it's not reasonable, then okay. But like that's kind of where I would go. But to the people that are going to say, well, like you just said, what's the point in having GMAC on your roster? What's the point in high school recruiting and all that? I hear you. Like, I think George MacIntyre can be a really good quarterback. I mean, in my opinion, is he ready to go play right now? No. Like, there's a lot of growing and developing with anybody. I think of Trevor Lawrence. Like, Trevor Lawrence got to Clemson, you're like, okay, that guy can play right now. Like, there's not many Trevor Lawrences out there. Like, Faizon might be one of those guys. I don't know, but like, I don't think that's, I mean, you're taking a big time, you're taking, not a risk, I don't want to say a risk, but you're taking a big time developmental mental player and a guy like George MacIntyre from the high school ranks, where just using him as an example, 4 different coordinators, 4 different coaches, 4 different offenses in a 4-year span. And that's just a big ask to say, well, just roll with GMAC. Well, again, he's got a lot of developing to do. So I think this whole conversation is super intriguing because you don't need to give up on traditional high school recruiting at all. But in the same sense, the people saying, well, what's the point in doing it? Like, I hear you, but I'm kind of in your boat. Like, well, do you want to waste Braylon Staley right now, Mike Matthews right now? Like, this offensive line right now? Like, this offense can be kind of special. So I don't know. Again, I'm all over the map as well. I would go out and get a starter if possible, if Joey's not in the picture, if possible, but I would not spend $4 million for it. And if that's the asking price and you say, all right, come in here, boys, George and Faizon, let's go win you a job. You're still going to have to get somebody, and he'll be a part of that conversation, the competition as well. But I'd say, George, Faizon, go out there and battle it out and let's go, because you're going to have help around you. So I guess it's a pretty good landing spot if that's kind of where you're at.
It's the conversation that's being had all around the country, right? It's college football in 2025. It is what it is. People say, well, what about George MacIntyre? What about Faizon? And my response today, I just saw a comment today, and I said, what about him? Like, George is a freshman, and Faizon is a high school senior. At the time of this recording, he is a high school senior, and you're worried about him not starting about the University of Tennessee. It's not 1992 anymore, right? We don't have our quarterback that stays through his senior year, and George just patiently waits his time, and then you hope he's ready by the time he's a redshirt sophomore or a junior. We don't have that luxury anymore. You've always got that middle man, like a Taven Jackson, who transfers, like a Jake Merklinger, who transfers. Now, guess who that new middle man is? It's George MacIntyre. He's sandwiched between what we're looking at in the portal. Man, that sexy girl over there in the red dress sure does look good in the portal. I got a nice little 5-star down here in Faizon Brandon. Remember when George was the Faizon Brandon? Remember when he was the 5-star that we were gawking about in high school? You always end up being that middle man, and I don't know. I just don't know what the answer is to it.
It's going to be interesting. Josh Heupel certainly formulating his plans behind the scenes right now. Of course, the transfer portal is not officially open right now. It will be on January the 2nd, but there are third party they're evaluating. They're looking at guys who are announcing they're going to be in the transfer portal. I mean, work's getting done. I'll be intrigued to see kind of where Josh Heupel likes to go, because you're not going to make everybody happy. That's just impossible. But at the end of the day, it's about getting some wins, and Tennessee's going to do whatever it can to get as many wins as it possibly can at the quarterback position. When we come back, what about this offseason to date? We're just here in December, Christmas Day, right? There's plenty more to go, but Boogie's thoughts on Tennessee's offseason to date. That's coming up next. We continue on here at your Christmas Day Locked On Vols. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're truly reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum shift and swing, and every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, the defense tightens up, or momentum flips after a turnover or a takeaway. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment as the live spreads, they adjust accordingly to those money lines. Player props, they adjust accordingly when a player starts to heat up. And you can bet on the next touchdown score, the end of the drive results, totals, and so much more that keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every single possibility on the gridiron. So, if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Check it all out today with our friends over at FanDuel. All right, Boogie Bentley, biggest news of the offseason so far, Tim Banks fired, Jim Knowles hired. Thoughts on that move?
You know, I got accused, I got yelled at, I got cussed at, I got criticized. I was told I carried water for Tim Banks. It's just one of those deals, man. You saw Tim Banks and his defense get better year in and year out, but as this season played out, I mean, all eyes, all fingers, everything to be blamed is on this defense. Now, the offense wasn't perfect. There were times the defense played well enough to win the game, but I got to the point where I said, if you fire Tim Banks, I'm going to wake up tomorrow happy, excited, encouraged to see where this team goes. Where does Josh Heupel go? Where does he look? And how many times throughout the course of our lives as Tennessee fans does a coach get hired and we got to pull out the phone and go to Google and say, all right, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Over at VolQuest, you guys put out the coaching hot board pretty early. And when you did, man, Jim Knowles was at the top of my list. I was like, that's a name that everybody's going to recognize. That's the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country. He was a national championship defensive coordinator at Ohio State. Pretty much everywhere he's been, his defenses get better. They are elite. They're top-ranked defenses everywhere, every stop of the way. But then they're starting to get all that steam, all that talk, all that chatter about the guy out there in Washington. And I sold myself. I was excited about a young defensive coordinator that also has an impressive track record. Of course, then you cycle back, you circle back, you come back, and it's Jim Knowles. I think I'm excited about what he brings to the table. I'm excited about his defense. I'm excited about it. Shows that Josh Heupel, it shows that this administration, I think it shows a commitment to winning. I think the fact that you fired Tim Banks and you didn't go out and hire another Tim Banks, another up-and-comer, another unknown, another co-defensive coordinator. You didn't go hire a guy that I had to Google. You went out and hired the highest-paid defensive coordinator in the freaking country, and that tells me you are serious about winning. Now, is it going to come in and is it going to be a magic trick and it's going to snap your fingers, it's perfect next year? I don't know that it will be. I know there's a lot of conversation about, his defense takes so long. This defense in 2026 is going to be better than it was in 2025. And that's all I need to know. And that's why I look to this offense and I'm like, dang it, man, if you just go get a quarterback, let's ride in 2026. An SEC championship ain't off the table. I don't have to ask Santa for that because I think that's a realistic possibility with Jim Knowles coaching defense and all the weapons we got on offense. We're coming off 8-4 and somehow I think we're going to the Natty next year. That's the beautiful thing of being a Tennessee fan.
Fan, short for fanatic.
That's right, baby.
I do want to ask you, talk about that in a moment, about, everybody making a big deal about his defenses take forever to get into. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing is ever, I sound like Brent Hopes when I say this, nothing is ever just black and white. Okay. Like there are layers to everything. Like, was Tim Banks firing all Tim Banks' fault? Heck no. It wasn't all his fault. You mean to tell me Jermon McCoy, Ricky Gibson's injuries were his fault? All the injuries up front were his fault? Guys in position to make plays and not making plays, guys in position to make tackles and not making tackles. I mean, I don't think that's his fault. But then again, you go back and say, well, it's fundamentals, preach the fundamentals. You're the coach. And okay, I hear you there. End of the day, though, you're making $2.15 million. Like you're a coach. And so, I mean, just like Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel's making, what, $9-10 million a year? Like, at the end of the day, it falls back on Josh Heupel. End of the day, it falls back on Tim Banks. So that's just the price you pay, literally, when you're hired, when you're fired in this industry. And so, I hate when guys, lose their jobs. Tim Banks is a good guy. Tim Banks is a really good guy. I do think that did show a little bit of evolution for Josh Heupel. So tired of the stigma, well, they've never started an offensive line from high school that they recruited. Well, they finally did. Josh Heupel's never fired anybody. Well, he finally did. And again, I'm a Hub's disciple. It's not about who you fire. It's about who you hire. The plan. You fired Tim Banks, who did a lot of great things here at Tennessee and was the reason. Josh Heupel wasn't. Nico wasn't. Dylan Sampson, maybe. But the reason you were in the playoffs was Tim Banks last year. The reason. And you fire him. He did a lot of great things. You fire him, but you go out and get as you said, the hottest defensive coordinator on the market. And if you think he's not this year, he certainly was last year. They paid him $3.1 million to go coach defense at Penn State. I thought that was a big boy move from Josh Heupel. And sure, 5 years in, about time you make some big boy moves, some people would say. I hear you. That's a big boy move. And so I think Josh Heupel, to this point, Jake Merklinger expected to go in the portal. He's going into the portal. Tennessee needs to make a move. Tennessee made a big move. Tennessee needs to make an impressive hire. Tennessee made an incredible hire. I think to this point, Josh Heupel's knocked the offseason out of the park. Now, there will be guys declaring that we don't know about, in my opinion. I don't know how many, but we'll see. Maybe by the time this episode's aired, maybe one or two that have gotten out there. There's going to be guys you lose. That's part of it. But I think the offseason with the Jim Knowles hire has been pretty daggone good so far.
I'm just interested to see where the next month goes. What's this roster look like midway through January, right? And we talk about Josh Heupel making that big move, making that bold move. Man, you look at his 5 years at Tennessee, there's always been something, right? The NCAA investigation, like, first of all, it's a joke that Jeremy Pruitt is now allowed to coach in the SEC, but this coaching staff still can't pick up the phone and call a prospect because of this stupid probation and all the stipulations that are in place. That's a joke. That's comical, but that's the reality. Josh Heupel is still dealing with that NCAA investigation. Look at the timing of last year, the transfer portal. You're in the college football playoff. You're playing for a national championship. I felt like Tennessee missed the boat in the first window of the portal last cycle. This year, obviously, you don't want to be 8-4 and you don't want to be playing in the Music City Bowl, but I feel like we are focused, dialed in, and moving forward to 2026. This Music City Bowl don't mean nothing. Who opts out? I don't care. It's a glorified scrimmage. We're going to go play Illinois. We're going to be favored. Probably it doesn't matter.
You know as well as I do, it doesn't matter until you lose, until you give up that 3rd and 13, until you turn it over in the red zone. Like, no, yeah, we can sit up here and say, oh, music, it don't matter. Everybody opt out. Who cares? It don't matter. It'll matter on December the 30th at about 6:30 when Tennessee turns the football over. You know as well as I do that's going to be true.
It's another opportunity to go play football, but let me tell you something. If they give up 3rd and 17, it don't matter because I'm going to say, guess what? Jim Knowles ain't here, baby. When Jim Knowles gets here, there ain't going to be no Knowles and 3rd down and Knowles. 3rd and Knowles? No, that ain't happening. No sirree. But you look at the trajectory of this football program, man. I think we have a plan in place. I think, like you said about Josh Heupel and the hiring of Jim Knowles, he knew who his guy was, and he went and got him. Y'all didn't know. We didn't know. The fans didn't know. Man, we were out here in the West Coast somewhere circling around. Meanwhile, Josh Heupel is hiring Jim Knowles. But I think they have a plan for the portal. I think they've got the money to spend. I think the NCAA investigation is in the rearview mirror. I think they had a really good class at 26. And Josh Heupel's been here for 5 years, and I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface of what he can do at Tennessee.
It's funny, man. I mean, like, nobody knew, man. Like, Josh Heupel kept this one super close, and you're chasing down every lead, and, like, you're talking to people, and people are like, yeah, he's about to make a hire. And there's some people are like, yeah, Ryan Walters, like, yeah, that's going to be the guy. And that's why, again, that's why you source. You can't just run. That's why you source. So people say sources, so because sometimes you get wrong information. And a lot of people are like high on Ryan Walters. It turns out.
Dude, but when you have that person that you trust and you get that name, and then you're like I thought it was done. I thought it was like two, Cainer, not one. Sources, like you said, everybody thought that was the direction we were going.
Smokescreen. I mean, it really was. And then we got tipped off earlier in the morning before it got broke. I forgot who broke it. It was a national media member about Knowles. Was it CeeLo? It might have been CeeLo. Anyway,
I think it was.
We got tipped earlier in the morning, like, hey, hearing Jim Knowles, Jim Knowles, Penn State to Tennessee, hearing a lot about this, look into it here. And it's like, okay. So then it's like Hotboard 3.0, Jim Knowles. Let's get that picture. Let's plant the seeds. That's how you do the business.
I love it. I love 2.0. Walters up there at the top. 3.0. Knowles skyrocketing stock up. I love it.
Just planting the seeds, baby. And like people are like, oh, people like to break down like the hotboard. First of all, I freaking hate hotboards, but people like to break down every single move of the hotboards. And somebody's like, well, this guy was on here the other day. This guy, top of the list. This guy's got the picture. And like, I mean, outside of who's at the top of the list and who's got the picture, there's no other thought that goes into it in terms of the order, at least when I do them. Like whoever's last on that list, like it could be second on that list. Like outside of who's won, who's got the picture, I don't put much thought into it. Anyway, yeah, I think this is going to be a good hire. It's going to be interesting to see who he retains, how he meshes with the current players, who he goes and gets. A lot of questions we don't have the answer to right now, but this could be one of those jobs that I'm not going to say saves Josh Heupel's job because he's not on the hot seat, but like this could be one of those that kind of takes him to the next level. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Nothing's guaranteed, but this guy knows how to coach football, that's for sure. Portal wish list. We already talked about quarterbacks. What else does Tennessee absolutely gotta have when it officially opens up next week? That's coming up next as we continue on here this Christmas morning. Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. How quickly can you say safety?
Yeah, I'm going to call an audible and go in opposite direction just because I know safety is the answer.
Safety is the answer. Tennessee needs help in the transfer portal. I asked Austin on the VolQuest mailbag podcast earlier this week because a lot of posters were saying, 10 to 15 players from the portal. That seems excessive to me, but that's probably around the area code that Tennessee might be going. I mean, Tennessee needs help in a number of different positions, right? And Tennessee will lose some players already, some players that have announced they're going to the transfer portal, and that's just part of college football nowadays. But Tennessee's going to add a lot, it feels like. Tennessee needs help at all three levels on the defense. Where would you, outside of safety, because again, that's a given, where would you go? Where would you prioritize in the transfer portal?
Just a quick note for everybody in the comment section. If you ever want to know how I talked to Cainer off air, that was it. I didn't know we were going. I didn't know we were live. I was on a different screen. I thought you were just telling me what we were going to talk about in the third segment. So when I said I'm going to call an audible, I'm just telling Cainer what I'm going to do. I am going to call an audible, though, because the obvious answer is safety. But I'm telling you what, you when you hire Jim Knowles, your brain immediately goes, all right, I'm watching every guy from Penn State. I'm watching every guy from Ohio State. All those Jim Knowles relationships, how do they benefit Tennessee? Chaz Coleman in the transfer portal announced his intentions to enter the transfer portal. He's the top-ranked edge guy in the portal. He's the top overall player in the portal, played for Penn State. Jim Knowles obviously has that relationship. I was looking into it, man. Interesting story coming out of high school. More of a basketball player, took over as the quarterback for his football team his junior season of high school. They bring in a new head coach, Matt Richardson, at his high school, and he goes to watch him play a basketball game. He says, when I watched him play basketball, I immediately thought, this kid's a Power 5 edge rusher without seeing him even play a snap of football. He switches to edge. Listen to these high school stats from his senior season. First year ever playing edge, 68 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 5 sacks. Here's where it gets crazy. The kid forced in 12 games, he alone forced 12 turnovers,
Wow.
9 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions in 12 games. His stock goes up. Penn State was in early on the eval. He commits to Penn State over Kentucky and Missouri. Ohio State called late, and he stuck with Penn State. I hear a lot of buzz out there about Ohio State. It may be over and done with at this point. But, man, that when you look at a game changer at edge, and I get it right now as of the time of this recording, we still got Caleb Herring, Jordan Ross. I think those guys have a bright future. This kid is a freak. Go get him. That's priority number one behind the safety. We all know we need safeties. How many safeties do you need? We talk about Jim Knowles, that defense, 3 high safety look. I'm not very familiar with the X's and O's of it. Do one of those safeties have like a star type of role, or is
one of the safeties is a star?
So you know, who do you move into that position?
He's not on the roster right now.
You don't think, like, where does Caleb Beasley factor into this? Does he get onto the field? Is he good enough to move? He's moved from corner to safety. Do you move him to the star position, or do you legit, Cainer? Do you have to go get 4, 5 defensive backs, whether they're safeties, corners, or a guy to play that star position?
It's a really good question. As far as the edge from Penn State, it's shocking to me with all those high school stats you rattled off with the 9 forced fumbles, the 3 interceptions, and this and that, and the 12 TFLs and all that. It's like, dude only had 5 sacks. Shocking. But athlete. I'm also hearing a lot, again, time of this recording, which is several days before Christmas, trying to get ahead of it. I'm also hearing a lot of Ohio State buzz as well. But to that point, Knowles brought a star player, a nickelback from Oklahoma State to Ohio State. I need to go back and double check. I'm not sure if he brought anybody from Ohio State to Penn State with him, but he brought someone to kind of help, essentially, kind of be a coach on the field with him when he got to Ohio State. So could that be a case here in this one? I think that's something, to be paying attention to at Penn State or Ohio State, like you mentioned. The safeties, yeah, Caleb Beasley, I don't know. That's a really good question. I think that he can certainly be an option at star. He's not a corner. He was never a corner. I think he was always a safety/star body type, in my opinion. It's a 3 high safety look, but it's more or less like a star. That there's that safety position there, where it's more of a safety body. I honestly I'm racking my brain right now. I don't think there's a star on the team right now. Boo's gone. Christian Harrison's gone. He's been gone for a while, obviously. McMurray is gone. William Wright could play it. He's gone. There's just not anybody right now that I can think of. Now, can one of those young guys develop? Can a Tim Merritt develop? Can a Sidney Walton drop down and develop? Could a, whoever else? I don't know. Not Jaden Perlotti. One of those other young DBs. Can one of those guys develop? I don't know. I mean, I guess so, but I can't think. I think they got to go find multiple safeties, one of which to play that nickelback spot. And I think they need depth at corner in a massive way, right? Because we'll see what Hood does. Let's take Hood out of the equation right now, okay? Just, because he's being heavily thought of right now in the NFL circles.
He's got to be gone.
Yeah, I think he's gone. And by the time this
he's probably gone now. Yeah, I think he's gone by now.
Ricky Gibson and Ty Redmond, what a great starting point, right? But who's behind you? Tennessee was down to corner 3 and 4 this year that played all year long. Like, I think you need some depth there. So I think it starts in the secondary for sure. A couple of safeties. We'll love to have a corner or two. But Boogie, I also think you need help. Interior D-line. I think you need a pass rusher. Linebackers got to get better. But like, I like the options Tennessee has. Like, I don't think linebacker is the biggest pressing need because you have a ton of options. It needs to get better though. Like, I hear you, it's got to get better. But I can work with Jaden Perlotti. I can work with Edwin Spillman. I can work with Jaden Harmon. Like, we'll see how they adapt, but I can work with Rouse and TJ White, man. Like let's go. Like, I like the linebacker position, but I truly do think all three levels need a lot of work, and I think Tennessee needs to go out and heavily attack defense in the transfer portal.
So can I ask you a question there? You're talking about the linebackers. You're talking about Edwin Spillman. I'm excited. You're talking about Perlotti. You're talking about Harmon. You're talking about the two linebackers ranked inside the top 100. Who you not talking about? Why are you not talking about it? Because I like Jeremiah Thielander, and I hate to do this, man, because I love Jeremiah Thielander. I think he's a dog. I think he plays with grit. I think he plays with violence. I think he is a step slow. I just think that's the reality. And I think when Tennessee went from the nickel look to a true 4-3, I thought Jeremiah Thielander shined. I thought he looked better, but you didn't mention him, and you didn't mention him, and that was interesting because he was a name that I had my eye on. Is this a guy that may get passed by and look to transfer? And that's just me thinking out loud. And then you hear him when he meets with the media after Jim Knowles is hired, and he's talking about how excited he is, and he's going to jump in the playbook and jump into the install and ready to get with Edwin Spillman. I think he's your vocal leader. I think he is your veteran leader in that linebacker room. But it's going to be interesting to see what Jim Knowles does with it because the names you rattle off, man, they make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It doesn't take a genius. I don't need to know X's and O's to see how fast Jaden Perlotti is, to see how athletic he is. What does he feel like if Jeremiah Thielander starts in front of him? He doesn't get as much run as he wants. Why didn't you mention Jeremiah Thielander? Interesting.
I like Jeremiah Thielander. I have liked Jeremiah Thielander dating back to the recruiting days. He was so great to work with back when I covered recruiting more than I do now. He was so great to work with, and that he was always respectful. Some recruits don't care. Some recruits don't. And again, you're young. Like, you're just focused on you. That's fine. He always knew I was trying to do a job, and he would call me back. He would text me back. So those are my guys, right? And so I appreciate him. But no, he's made plays here, right? Like, he is a step slow. He is not his strengths are not out of the box. My strength is not, compared to AP, my strength is not information getting, right? Like, that's his strength. My strength's in front of a camera. Like, we all have our strengths, right? And we can all do a little bit of everything. But anyway, but like Jeremiah Thielander, like, I think that he does some things well. I just think that, you saw his number, you saw his snap count start to level out towards the end of the year. Like, Arion Carter, Edwin Spillman, Jeremiah Thielander, they all played the same amount of snaps. Now, Arion Carter missed 2 games essentially, but they all played about the same amount. They are all different by maybe 2 or 3 snaps. So that's in my mind, Tennessee had 3 starters. Like, he's still going to play, don't get me wrong, but do I think Jaden Perlotti needs a bigger piece of the pie next year? Absolutely. Do you hope Jaden Harmon steps up a little bit? For sure. Like, Spillman's going to be that dude. But yeah, Thielander's going to play. And to your point about being the vocal leader, absolutely. Like, he's always been that, but Arion Carter was the rah-rah vocal leader guy. I do think that's going to be Thielander. Anything's possible. Never going to say never. I don't see him as a transfer guy. I think he's a ball. But, never say never in that regard. Offensively, all the conversation, we got a couple minutes left here. All the conversation is always about defense. Does Tennessee need help on the offense? I don't think they should get a wide receiver because they only play 3, and you have 2 guys that are going to step up, and Travis Smith and Rodarius Jackson. You got Tristan Keys coming in that I think can help on the outside. You actually have a true slot guy in Tyreek Keene that can back up Staley. I think they're fine at wide receiver. I think they're fine at tight end because you like 3 that you have there. Offensive line, I mean, even if Lance Hurd leaves, Bennett Warren, I think, is ready to roll. I think you probably use a running back. What's your thoughts on offense? Outside of quarterback.
I'm with you on the running back. Do you need a guy at running back? You're looking at Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, Dwan Morris. What is Peyton Lewis? Where's he at? I don't think he had the season that I personally expected him to have. I thought he could be right up there, 1A, 1B with Deshaun Bishop. I think it's not pressing, right? It's like we can look at this roster and go, well, we obviously need safety help. We need help at corner. The interior of the defensive line's a good one that you're
not making sacrifices and breaking the bank. You'll bring in a running back.
Right. I'm not looking at that running back room and going, we have to have a running back. But if the right guy is there, I think you go get him. The question for me is depth on the offensive line. Again, and it starts with Lance Hurd. And then you have questions to answer. If Lance Hurd leaves, if Lance Hurd is gone, Dave Sanders moves over to left tackle. You mentioned Bennett Warren. Does Bennett Warren step in there at right tackle? Where is Jesse Perry's future? I mean, you're talking about a kid, a redshirt freshman that stepped out on the field and looked like a stud at right tackle when Dave Sanders was hurt. If I'm him, I'm going, I want to play tackle. That's where the future's at. That's where my money's at. And then from a coaching perspective, is he better than Bennett Warren at right tackle? And if he is, what do you do with Bennett Warren? Does he stick around to be a backup behind David Sanders and Jesse Perry for the next couple of years? And if he does, and you are moving Jesse Perry to the outside, like what's the interior look like? And I think one of the reasons I thought that Sam and Wendell Moy were big pickups in the portal, I thought they had the opportunity to come here and be good, but they also had years of eligibility. They weren't a one and done. And so I think that gives you some continuity on that offensive line. Sham Umarov, right? Only a redshirt sophomore this season. So, but maybe depth. And it's such a hard conversation when you're talking about the offensive line. You don't see a whole lot of those guys. I don't know what the depth looks like on the interior. How satisfied is Josh Heupel? So that's where I'm at. If the right running back is there, go get him. If you can add some bodies on the offensive line, go get them. But I'm not worried or pressing or concerned. You know, like you said about the wide receivers, I think you got so much talent coming in that you already got the freshmen in Rad Jackson and Travis Smith. We never talk about Joakim Dotson. Maybe he comes along, and then just bringing in Tristan Keys. That's a guy day one you expect to come in here and start playing football. And nobody talks enough about Tyreek King, the most underrated guy in the class of 26. I think he can come in and be ready to go as a freshman.
It's weird you went from having no bodies at the slot position to like, I mean, you've got Staley, Tyreek King will be the backup, assuming Joakim Dotson as well as in that conversation. Hell, Amari Jefferson is technically a slot as well. Yeah. Tennessee has 4, and then Deshaun Braden can play. Tennessee's got 5 options in the slot. Out the door because we're going late here on a Christmas morning. To your point on the offensive line, very interesting. Like that's why you praise God that there's not a spring portal window anymore. Right? Yeah. Because survive this window, okay? And even in spring, right? And they will, but like even in spring, it's like, okay, competition, let's see who the best 5 is out here. Bennett Warren's going to get say Hurd's gone, say Sanders at left. Bennett Warren will get a look at right tackle. Jesse Perry will get a look at right tackle. Like, in my opinion, it goes Perry at right tackle. I guess it'd be Moy, Pendleton, Sham, because Sham was pretty much a starter this year, and then Sanders, and then Bennett Warren is your swing guy. Yep. Or you could slide Warren in there at right tackle, kick Perry down, and then Sham can continue to be your swing guy in the back as a reserve. So I think Tennessee's got a lot of options, but what I'm getting at here is there's no spring window. You're not going to lose anybody, thankfully, and just survive this first window and go into it with an open mind, and that's kind of how you have to sell it. And you know, that should help Tennessee a lot. I think Tennessee's going to be good on the offensive line. I think Tennessee will be good at wide receiver. Does Tennessee lose a running back? If so, I think it would absolutely make sense to go there. But in the same sense, too, like I'm excited about DeJuan Morris. I really am. Yeah. This is a good team from a roster, from a personnel standpoint, but it should get a whole lot better with the transfer portal opening up next week. All right, we went overboard here. Merry Christmas to everybody. Boogie, what do you got coming up later today? I mean, obviously, we're recording this before Christmas. What do you got coming up on Christmas in the Tri-Cities?
We got Christmas Day. We got biscuits and gravy for dinner. That's what we do in the Bentley household. But then we're going to get geared up, man, because we do have a bowl game to get ready. It's crazy because I've not even we laughed before we started recording. I've not even begun to scratch the surface of that bowl game. But we got a bowl game coming up. We're going to go live the Sunday night before it at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Get you guys geared up. And then on game day, we'll go live an hour before kickoff and then immediately following the game. Man, we covered transfer portal, recruiting. We got a bunch of interviews coming up on the Talking Vols Network this offseason. I'm going to pick up the phone and make some phone calls to guys that were in that class of 25 that rolled through the Talking Vols Network. They're going to be coming back talking about their first full season as a college football player. We got some veterans on this Tennessee football team that have rolled through the Talking Balls Network. We're going to reach out to them, but then guess what? We got a class of 27 that we're going to start breaking down, getting into, forming those relationships, and getting those guys to come in and talk about their journey and their recruitment. Man, the offseason is a lot of fun. It's so different. We're not talking about X's and O's. We're not talking about games. But, man, it's interviews and it's getting a little sneak peek to inside the world of high school football, recruiting, and college football. It's one of my favorite things we do on the channel, able to form a lot of good relationships with not only kids but the families, everything. Come check it out. Come subscribe. I promise you'll have some fun this offseason.
Boogie, as always, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate the collaboration during football seasons. And, we always visit each other's shows a little bit during the offseason, so look forward to that. Appreciate all you guys for making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch every day. Or couldn't do without you. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you enjoy the day, and hope it's fun. I hope it's a blast with your family and friends. And, we'll be back tomorrow. At the time of this pre-recording, hopefully I've got a crossover going up tomorrow. And, bowl season for Tennessee gets going on Tuesday of next week. Press conference on Monday morning, and we'll be live and have everything you need from Nashville for the Music City Bowl. Appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas, and have a great rest of your holiday Thursday.